Hi everyone, just a quick forward on this video. There is a little bit of microphone static. It's not enough for me to justify re-recording the video because I kind of liked the vibe and the style of it. Not the static, but the actual recording of it in the first place. All I'm saying is don't adjust your speakers, don't adjust your headphones, and if it annoys you too much, I will fix it for the next one. I hope you enjoy anyway. Hey everyone, it's QuickyBaby and welcome back to World of Tanks. And today's not going to be a Valentine's special, but a happy Valentine's Day to everyone out there who have the luxury of being able to have someone. If you don't, well then I'm just going to have to try and distract you from that with some awesome World of Tanks combat, right? So, today I'm going to be playing in the AMX-50 Foch with the 155mm gun. This vehicle is actually a reward tank inside World of Tanks now. And when I say it's a reward tank, it's not really a tank that you can really award yourself outside of buying it inside the black market, usually for an eye-watering 20 million price tag, which is pretty much about 14 million more than what everybody else paid for this tank when they first picked it up inside World of Tanks, when it used to be the top tier French auto-loading tank destroyer. Replaced with a vehicle which I featured on the channel a week ago, which has a 120mm gun. Now this tank is very, very different with regards to the way that the gun works. Gone is that 6-round magical 120mm autoloader. Now you have a 3-round 155mm autoloader that can actually really pack a wallop. 755 damage done there to the Stridsvagn 103B. The unfortunate thing for this vehicle, however, is that the intra-clip reload is 5 seconds. That's pretty much a lifetime in World of Tanks. Some vehicles are destroyed in less than 5 seconds. Some autoloaders are able to burst out an entire magazine, like the TVP T50/51. That vehicle is going to be doing 1,280 damage to you within those first 4.5 seconds, which is kind of a little bit savage. In fact, I'm a little bit wrong about that, because it's actually going to be 1,300 and oh god, no, not quick maths again, trying to work out everything. Okay, look, it's 1,280. I got there in the end. Don't try and put me on quick maths, okay? It's just not going to happen. Anyway, look, TVP 1,280 damage within 4 seconds of the first shot. Whereas this vehicle, it's going to take 10 seconds to be able to fire out its entire magazine. And so with the Foch 155, really, it's the kind of tank that does do very well when it gets to just fire one, and then it has a little bit of a breather, but not too long of a breather, otherwise you never actually get to reload the magazine, right? This is what very awkward tank that I really don't enjoy playing inside World of Tanks, even probably less so than the Foch with the 120mm gun, because I feel like you have to be so much less dynamic when you're just having to wait these 40-second, 45-second periods to be able to reload the tank. And that's really what this vehicle is all about. Unlike the Foch with the 120mm, which I feel that I can go in, maybe blitz a flank, kill a vehicle, and then use the high damage per minute that the vehicle has to be able to reload quickly and then do it all over again. This tank has to be a lot more calm and measured in its approach. And if it's not calm and measured in its approach, then usually it's going to have a bad time on the battlefield. Alright, so I wanted to try and take the central location on that map. I really think that area, the G45 area, is the most important part of the Empire's border map. If you don't go there, then really the enemy just have this central position that they can either push out towards the middle, or alternatively they're going to be able to flank around and destroy all of the vehicles that for some reason love to go along the south. Maybe it's because you don't have to go up a hill to get there. Kind of makes sense if you're in a slower moving tank, but definitely if you're in a fast medium or a fast heavy, if you can control that location, it's really going to work out very well for you. So we fired one shell in pretty much the first 4 minutes of this battle. The Foch 155 not looking very good until now. 800 damage, and we've got more than enough time to be able to reload another shell for 767 damage, and then as if it was just gifted to us by the gods, a tier 10 French auto-loading medium tank comes around the corner as well for us to be able to finish them off. That's where this tank does feel like the dream, and where it does feel like a very strong tank indeed. It's just those kind of opportunities are far and few between to be able to actually kind of have those magical games like you used to have in the Foch 155 back in the day when there weren't so many autoloaders in the game. That's really where the vehicle has just fallen to the wayside of being competitive inside World of Tanks. There are other vehicles with autoloaders that burst their damage out quicker, some vehicles which have better mobility, and everything's got high enough penetration, it feels like, and some tanks with even higher alpha damage to be able to just obliterate the tank entirely. Still doesn't mean that you can't have a good game in the vehicle occasionally, and hopefully that's going to be one that we see here today. So I'm thinking, how can I manage to get this STRV-103B? Well, if I go around the corner, he's going to be able to blitz me. So hopefully what I can do is, unfortunately, block the Scorpion here, which I didn't intend to do, but reverse out. And you know what? I can overmatch most of that Swedish tank destroyer. So if I hit anywhere pretty much on that top part, it's going to kill him. Yeah, of course, it doesn't manage to hit that part of the vehicle, and the WZ comes around the corner, and then I bounce off the standard B, and artillery kills 2 tanks to the left and the right of me. This is looking like the absolute disaster. Can you believe the M53-55 getting a Bombardier's medal there? Luckily for me, the artillery finishes off the standard B, and I presume that this STRV-103B presumes that I was either reloading or running away. So I'm very happy that I didn't reload there, and I'm also very happy that that's probably the last tank that's going to be engaging me in that location, because now I need to scurry away for 45 seconds to be able to reload. And that really is where the Foch 155 is unforgivable. Other vehicles like the Stridsvagn 103B, which I know we just shut down there, will be able to reload quickly and to be able to have the flexibility they need to be able to deal with any kind of bad RNG as it may happen. This vehicle just feels like bad luck, where you kind of roll the dice and you, I don't know, you roll a 1, and so you miss the STRV-103B, and then you roll the dice again, and you roll a 1 again, and now you bounce off the standard B. It was looking like an absolute disaster, and this vehicle does end up very, very vulnerable against multiple vehicles, especially when that kind of stuff happens. But still, I don't know, it's hard to be able to figure it out, because being able to have these really big pen rounds, I'd say this one is probably better for the free-to-play players out there. It's just interesting that this tank is not available free-to-play at all, unless you want to wait for the black market and dump 20 million credits on it, which is kind of almost like taking a mortgage. If you could actually borrow the credits inside World of Tanks, right? It's an insurmountable amount for any player, especially a free-to-play player, to be able to pay back, unless I guess you're truly dedicated, right? So what are the strengths of this tank? I've talked about all of the weaknesses. What are the strengths? Well, it's all about that penetration. This vehicle has 293 millimeters of standard penetration, way better than the Foch with the 120 millimeter, and it has 395 millimeters of gold pen for when you're in those tier 10 matchups, which I guess you're always going to be when you're in a tier 10 tank, but you know what I mean. A real tier 10 matchup now is one where everybody is a tier 10 tank, and to have 395 millimeters of heat pen, yeah, it does work out very well for this vehicle. And if for some reason you can try and make these high explosive rounds work with 90 millimeters of penetration, oof, yeah, this thing is an absolute savage of a tank. But again, to have that 45-second reload on the vehicle when the different kinds of ammo are very useful for different kinds of tanks, unless Wargaming implement those terrible changes on the sandbox test server for high explosive rounds. You can't reload the rounds that you need to be able to deal with the target unless you're very much forward thinking. Alright, so it's now me, a WZ-111 GFT, and a self-propelled gun against 2 light tanks, a defender, and an artillery. So I slow down as I go around the corner there because I believe the EBR-90 is going to try and pressure me. Fortunately for us, our artillery has been shut down by the enemy artillery, who's having quite a game on 5 kills to boot right now. But this is our moment. We're going to sneak up behind the defender and hopefully deliver some French justice to the back of this Soviet tank. Boom, baby, there we go. Quickly, let's turn the vehicle around. We've got 2 healthy light tanks, 1 behind us, 1 in front of us. I fire clutch as you like and low roll against the EBR for 584, and I guess we'll just roll 6s, right? I guess we'll just roll 6s. So I consider my options. I want to get out of there as quickly as I can to try and handle the artillery. And in this scenario, I'm wondering, should I go round or should I try and maybe make my way up? Should I try and deal with the artillery that possibly could be behind me? And in retrospect, I kind of feel that I make a little bit of a misplay here. I don't think it's going to make too much of a difference because, unfortunately, for the WZ-111 GFT, you can see that I'm still reloading. I'm not even 2/3 reloaded yet, and the ELC even 90 is going to manage to reload to be able to deal with the WZ-111G. You could argue that maybe I could have ram-killed the ELC even 90 in that situation, or been there to be able to put some pressure on. But what I really wanted to do there was, I thought at the time that the ELC was going to kill the WZ quickly, and then they were probably going to try and escape up the slope, expecting me to come from the obvious direction. And so I thought, by going up here, that here we go, here's our opportunity to deliver the high explosive round to the ELC even 90. Oh dear, oh no, that's not quite what we want. So you might be interested in the title of the YouTube video today, and I want to talk about something that definitely did affect me in World of Tanks over the last week or so. I was playing an incredibly close game where I was playing a tier 10 vehicle, and I think I was in like a 2 versus 7 scenario, and I was playing with a 60 TP, whose, spoilers, when I checked the post-game stats, had a 60% average win ratio. Clearly a very, very competent player. This 60 TP sat as a top tier tank on most of their hit points on the Mannerheim line map. You know, that kind of campy position where all of the heavy tanks would love to sit and just basically hope that they're either going to go into your cap circle, or alternatively they're going to try and flank round and fail to do so. The player literally said, "I'll take a draw." And it really hit me hard that even players who you would consider to be very, very good at World of Tanks, and let's just hold for a second. Guess I stopped rolling sixes, right? Would sit there, and even though they had pretty much 75% of their hit points left and about 3 or 4 minutes left on the game, just sit there, effectively not trying to win the game and just letting the timer run out. I personally don't get the mentality. I think that a draw is as bad as a loss. Now sure, if I'm in a game where I'm 1 versus 8 and I have an opportunity to run away for 10 seconds on very small amounts of hit points to try and eke out a draw, maybe I'll do that just to deny the enemy team a win, because probably they decided to be a little bit too passive and they didn't come after me. But I just don't understand the mentality. Why would you play for a draw? Why would you play safely in a situation that could be won? If you draw or you lose, it counts as effectively a loss on your record, because no one's going to go and look at your record and take a look at what your victory percentage is, but also take into account what your draw percentage is. People will look at the victory percentage, and a draw is as bad as a loss, which is why in these situations, I'd rather take the risk that I'm going to be shut down and the enemy team are going to win, than just try and sit around a corner and hope that they're going to play stupid and that I'm not going to lose for it. So in this scenario, we've been spotted by an ELC even 90. I know that I've got to try and find the ELC even 90 and the artillery with 2 minutes and 40 seconds left on the game, which is why we're playing incredibly aggressive here. The ELC even 90 fires all 3 rounds, luckily 2 of the gold rounds bouncing and 1 of them penetrating. This is quite a hard tank to be able to hit the weak points off frontally for a vehicle like that. And I drive towards the ELC even 90 to try and let them think, "Hey bud, I'm coming for you." But when I think that I'm no longer spotted, instead I realize that my only chance to win this game is not to try and find the artillery, it's to try and cap. I have to get into the cap circle with 1 minute and 40 seconds left on the game, and then hope that then I can force them to come to me to defend the cap circle, and then possibly I'm going to win. Now of course, if I get into the cap circle with 1 minute and 40 seconds left on the game, and I get interrupted, there's no point in sitting in the cap circle anymore, unless I think it's going to bait somebody who's stupid to come and try and defend it. And luckily, we are inside. 13 seconds to spare, and oh my lord, there's the M53-55 on the enemy team. I use these boxes to try and avoid his shell, but then I have to drive through him to be able to finish off the tank. And luckily for us, while the artillery actually kills our driver and we don't have a med kit, we're very vulnerable now in this scenario, it actually means that we've shut them down and I bear my tank around, albeit slowly with the driver, to hopefully be able to handle the ELC even 90 if they're going to approach. Now with the timer on the cap right now, I'm no longer going to be able to cap. But luckily for us, the ELC even 90 comes around the corner. I've got to hold the shell, hold the shell, hold the shell, and boom, baby. Quite a lucky end to this game. And you can hear that. That's me repairing my driver, just so they get a little bit more experience at the end of the game. It's a little known fact, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong in World of Tanks, but I do believe that if your crew are knocked out at the end of the battle, that they do actually receive slightly less experience. Considering that I'd already used the medkit, I might as well get it in. But I was just very happy in this scenario that, look, nobody wants to drive at a light tank with up to 55% camo when moving in a fairly cumbersome tank destroyer. But what did I have to lose? You can't take your tank with you. You might as well play to win in that scenario. And I'll never understand the mentality of a very competent player that I met this week playing in the 60 TP that would literally rather just sit there and play for a draw. Maybe it's fear. Maybe it's being paralyzed in a stressful situation. But if I've got any word of advice for any of you, ladies and gents out there watching this video today, when you're playing World of Tanks, firstly, of course, have fun. But more importantly, play to win. You can't take your tank with you in the post-game. And while it's maybe not going to work out for you every single time, I definitely know that. You may even make a few friends along the way while you're having one of those lucky heroic endings. So an ace tanker here for the high caliber that we managed to pick up, 5,430 damage dealt. Top gun for the 7 kills. Because we didn't fire any premium rounds this game, we make a fairly decent profit as well. I'd like to give a massive shout out to Murstan playing the WZ111G FT on my team. I'm really sorry that I was unable to be able to reload quick enough to come and help you with the ELC even 90, but I definitely couldn't have done this without you. You provided that distraction that allowed me to be able to sneak up behind the defender and also the Panar EBR 90 on the enemy team, who until that point was having a cracking game of World of Tanks. And it was also a pleasure to see you so elated and happy in the game chat as well. It's always a lovely thing to see, and it's sometimes something that I forget about in World of Tanks, that your team can be rooting for you just as much as sometimes they're calling you a noob and pinging the map and saying that you're camping at the back of the map, right? And so my final words for this video are: don't sell yourself short. Don't settle for a draw. Take the chance. What have you got to lose? Play to win. And sometimes that confidence in yourself, in your plays as well, will take the enemy team by surprise, may put yourself in a position that they didn't expect. And sometimes aggression is key for being able to win those close that are on the precipice of either being a win, a loss, hopefully never a draw, right? Anyway, ladies and gents, boys and girls, that's it for today. Really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. If you hated it, give it a thumbs down. And if you're watching this video as it's released on Sunday, it's time for the World of Tanks Tech Tree Showcase live right now on twitch.tv/QuickyBaby. And this week, 343 of you have voted, and the majority want to see the Grilla 15. I love this tank. I love the entirety of the German lightly armored tank destroyers. They're very sneaky, and they really do pack a punch in surprising positions. So come along right now as I highlight one of my favorite lines of tank destroyers in the game, show you some tips and tricks along the way, including which gun is best to use on the Borsig, or even on the WT Aufpanzer IV, so you can play your glass cannon German tank destroyers better than ever before. So I'm really looking forward to seeing all of you live right now. And also, just another mention that I am doing Wargaming's Lunar Challenge, and so I'm streaming every single day, at least for the next week. So come along if you want to laugh at me, get frustrated at grinding on my free-to-play account. But anyway, I'm hopefully going to see you sometime there. And as always, thank you so much for watching. You've been epic, and hopefully I'll see you soon.